Show, just a reminder that we don't have to go to war just because BlackRock and Raytheon say so. The show starts now.
You never want a serious crisis to go to waste. And what I mean by that, it's an opportunity to do things that you think you could not do before.
The way we're going to win over the long term is not just militarily. We've got to give them a stake in creating the kind of world order.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
After 1989, President Bush said, and it's a phrase that I often use myself, that we needed a new world order, and instead it looks like we got a lot of disorder.
Where does the real power lie? The power behind the power. Because it's no longer about who lives in the White House. It's about who owns the White House.
All right, welcome to the Daly Show. Oh, we have some really good stuff for you today. All right, I did my interview with Dr. Ron Paul this morning because there was some time issues, and so I thought, well, I'll just do it live because why not? And I could have done it recorded and played it tomorrow, but you can just catch it now. So my tomorrow show, I did this morning. So there you go. And really appreciate you tuning in. There's so much to talk about today. I'm actually kind of excited. We're going to make some connections really to things and just there's just so much, right, Melissa? There's so much to talk about. So we got to get rolling. How are you, Melissa? Melissa, where is Melissa? Okay, now let's see. Where is Melissa? Melissa, you there?
Oh, I'm here.
Oh, weird. Okay. That is really bizarre. Okay. For some reason you're coming in on a different channel and I have no idea why. But you know what? Who's to question? Because I know nothing about tech. So, I appreciate all of you tuning in. There is a lot to talk about and connections to be made and all kinds of things to say. So this will be interesting. Please put your comments up if you're on Facebook, YouTube, X, or Rumble. And then also share this show with a friend, like and subscribe. And there's a lot of video, like short content videos going up. And so share those. They're really important that we wake people up. There's just not enough of us. And I did want to say just right out of the gate, there were two headlines that were really kind of fascinating to me because they were just straight up lying, which you and I both know is not strange because it happens on the daily. But I just wanted to just point it out real quick. This is number one. Europe could face fuel shortage by April as Iran throttles supplies. Okay, says anonymous Shell boss. Okay, the gasoline company. So Europe could face fuel shortage by April. Like we're just right almost to April, right? As Iran throttles supplies. Okay, what is the truth of that stupid headline? Europe currently gets virtually none of their gas and oil from Iran because of the sanctions from 2020. So not true. And by the way, at the most, they only got 4% when things were rolling. So not true. Total lie, total bold-faced lie based on fear. Then the second one was nations race to secure enough fertilizer and prevent food crisis. So here's the truth. Only about 20% of the global fertilizer trade goes through the Hormuz at the most. So when you see headlines like this, they're likely making a shortage happen. They're not just reporting that it could happen. They're actually making this happen. Okay. And prediction versus manipulated situation. Then the war in Iran will be blamed as a scapegoat for the super high prices you're about to pay and the shortage of red meat that we keep hearing about and manipulated shortages. But it won't be the actual truth because fear sells. So it's going to serve as a scapegoat, a nice, convenient scapegoat. And then remember the shortage of oil in the 70s, completely manipulated and lied about. But I don't think people really understood that. And then using Iran as bait for the headlines, in the headlines for over 50 years. Yeah. And they've always been 2 weeks away from getting a nuke for 50 years. So I just wanted to kind of go through 2 headlines, point out the truth, because the news is making me insane. All right, enough said there. Melissa, what are we chatting about today?
Well, let's start out by talking about Pokemon Go.
Oh,
That's a fun thing.
Okay, yeah. I want to hear about this.
Were you ever a player of Pokemon Go?
No, I'm not a video game player. I'm not a Pokemon player. Yeah, it's just those things just really bug the crap out of me. But go ahead.
Me neither. I did not ever get the allure of it. However, my kids have played it.
Yes.
And when it was all the thing, they were all over it. They thought it was way fun.
Okay.
Right? So for those that don't know what Pokemon Go was, you used your phone and you held it up in your environment, wherever you were. You used the camera on your phone. The app for the game would actually insert the Pokemon characters into that environment.
Okay.
And then you would look for them. So you're using your phone to scan around in the environment to find Pikachu or to find whatever.
Fake Pikachu?
Yeah. Whatever the character was that you were looking.
Here's your fake high five for finding fake Pikachu.
So it was just meant to be a game, right?
Right.
Well, Niantic Spatial, the company that created the game, has announced that they are now in a partnership with Coco Robotics, a company that specializes in short distance delivery robots for food and groceries.
What?
So what they have done at its height, there were 230 million monthly players. This is back in about 2016.
Okay.
There were about 230 million monthly active players playing Pokemon Go. And they've taken all the data about all the locations that all those players were.
Yes.
That all went into a big database.
Okay.
All that information about the street level, about buildings, about everything, that whole environment, everything you were looking at in your camera got saved.
I'm in shock. I'm in literal shock. Wow. I don't think anyone talked about this when everybody was doing that craze.
Who would have even known?
Yeah.
I mean, I just assumed that they were inserting something.
Yeah.
But no, they were actually recording. And so they're calling this a crowdsourced mapping effort. It's one of the largest real-world data collection projects ever undertaken.
But they just never realized it when they were doing it.
Nobody knew.
I love it that they call it an effort by a ton of people that didn't even know that they were compiling all of this data for this. That's amazing. Wow.
Well, the part of the data collection effort was called, they got a boost in the year 2020 when Niantic added a feature that they called field research. Field research. That should have been a clue to those of us that were thinking. And they would say, okay, we want you to scan a real world location for us. And in exchange, we'll give you in-game credits. So you can get, all the bells and whistles, but you have to go to the local fountain and you have to walk around it and take video of all of this.
What?
So do you see what they were doing? So the problem is Coco Robotics that has this delivery system for groceries, short distance delivery systems for food and groceries. What most of those, like what we've heard about, like Amazon wants to have little drones that will deliver to your door. Those have conventionally been run with GPS location.
Yeah.
Well, the problem with GPS is that it's what the satellite can see from up above is not the same as what a street level view does.
True.
And so what they did at Niantic Spatial was they were creating 3D real world street level mapping.
Wow.
And that allows them, they said, this is unprecedented precision. They can get in and around and through streetscapes and buildings to like within centimeters
Oh my
of
gosh.
precision. Now,
Really?
if you think about GPS, if you were in an urban environment, it could be really hard to contend with buildings that are closely together.
Yeah.
Narrow alleyways, narrow walkways, crowded sidewalks, busy streets. But the information gathered through Pokemon Go that built this 3D mapping kind of helps to overcome all of that. Who would have guessed that playing Pokemon Go, you were part of the effort to train delivery robots?
I should not be shocked at this. I'm surprised because I hadn't thought of it, but I'm not shocked because of course all of us are the little minions doing all the work for them through a game. I mean, it makes sense to the way that they operate. It's just interesting. I just can't even. I wonder if somebody could sue for not getting paid for doing all their field research. And isn't it an invasion of
They did
privacy?
get paid. Oh, they did get paid. They got
Really?
in-game credits, didn't they?
Oh my gosh. And is it an invasion to privacy is coming in as a text? Yeah, I would imagine. I mean, you're
would
grabbing
guess.
data that wasn't, I mean,
What privacy has been invaded?
yeah.
Your personal location, I'm sure
Yeah.
that when you signed when you clicked the I agree button at the bottom of their, user contract, that you agreed to do this.
Right.
You can't play the game without doing it their way, right? So I'm guessing that, and this brings up an interesting thing, all the data that is generated, who does that belong to? And just recently I had a conversation about, when I store I take all my photos, my phone, clogs up with all my personal photos. So I move them over to a Google Pics drive or an Amazon drive or a whatever drive. Who owns those pictures? The pictures you post on Facebook, that goes around periodically. Guess what? When you post a picture on Facebook, Facebook owns it.
Yeah.
When you download your personal photos off your phone onto a Google Drive, onto a Google Pics, now Google owns those images. Or Amazon owns those images. They own the data. You gave them permission by putting your stuff there.
It's amazing. It's totally amazing. I mean,
so if you want, I would be much more concerned about Google owning my personal images than I am about Pokemon Go with pictures of a water fountain in my town. Which one of those is a bigger breach of my data, of my security?
For sure. And
however, I have to wonder whether all of that Pokemon Go data was imprinted with exactly who the user was that did it.
Ouch.
And I'm guessing it probably is.
I would imagine, yes. I mean, honestly, I had to get a new phone and now it says Apple Intelligence on it. Did anyone notice that on the new phones? It says Apple Intelligence, not just Apple anymore.
Well, here, we'll add one more layer. Do you know, here's another thing that we maybe have not realized was a data collection tool and a training for AI. When you get those CAPTCHA tests, they say, okay, you get maybe, 3, 6, 9 images. And they say, we have to determine whether you're a human. So click on all the things that have a traffic light in them. And, you go through and you're like, oh, is that the edge of a traffic light or not? We can't tell.
Right.
Okay. So those little tests that are asking you to identify images of a bicycle or a traffic light or a crosswalk, whatever it is, they have long been suspected that those are training artificial intelligence vision models. We're teaching AI through our eyes how to recognize those things. So So that's scary enough, right? We're
Mhm.
actually teaching and training them. It just makes me kind of sick.
Well,
Like,
yeah.
not even Pokemon Go. And I know
Yeah.
little kids were using Pokemon Go.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, they weren't told. Nobody was told to even be able to make a decision. I doubt it was in any terms and conditions. If they want to argue that, I doubt that anything was put in there as maybe it was because no one ever watches those or reads those. But I don't know, just very strange.
I
Yeah.
would guess that it was in the terms and conditions.
Mm-hmm.
That all the images that were generated,
Yeah.
because they had license, like the Pokemon characters are licensed. So
Mhm.
they might have said something like, all the images generated from playing this game are owned by
Mhm.
Niantic, whatever.
Mhm.
I don't know. I would be curious. I don't know. I've never played the game, nor do I care to ever play the game. But we need to be aware of the data harvesting.
Mhm.
I think, at least in my little brain, I can
Mhm.
say, I can see how data harvesting, how they're, the information they get from Facebook is a tremendous cache of information about me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Pokemon Go, really?
I wouldn't have thought of that.
Really? No, I would not have thought of it either.
Hmm.
So let's kind of move away from Pokemon Go and talk a little bit more about what they do have about us and on us, and what do we do about it.
Mhm.
So we need to know that for every single one of us out there, if you have ever interacted with any platform at all, whether it's X or Facebook, whether it's Pokemon Go, whether it's whatever, your public library, there has been in creation for a number of years, quite a few years now, a digital twin that has your, I won't say it has your name on it, but it knows you as a user.
Right.
It is a mirror of you. And if you've ever interacted with any kind of database or a cloud network, if you've done it at work or at home or wherever you are, and who among us has not had any contact at all?
Okay.
And we all do.
Yeah.
So what does that digital twin that lives in the algorithms know about us? It knows when we wake up. It knows how long we look at certain posts. It knows whether we scroll on past. It knows what kind of advertisements we like to look at. It knows what kind of news headlines we like to and what we will read. And we have been building this ourselves. We have allowed that to be built. So as more and more data is collected, more and more will be known about you, to the point that we all know this. We've all had this experience. I'm talking to my husband about what kind of dog food we should buy. And I pick up my phone and I open up Facebook, and there's an ad for the dog food brand that we bought last time.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I never ask my phone, but my phone heard the conversation and now is providing me with that information.
Yeah.
So that's a predictive model. And we need to be aware, those predictive models, are they a reflection of us, or at what point do they begin to shape us?
Yeah.
I would say initially they were a reflection of us. That was just a data gathering.
Yeah.
But when we all began to notice that it was making suggestions to us, that's when we began to cross the line from just shaping us to from actually just mirroring us to shaping us. It's actually predicting what we would like, and then feeding us more of that.
I have to interject here for a second. So this was interesting because this I was thinking about this morning. So this was just odd that you're bringing this up, because I actually didn't know what Melissa was going to be talking about today. But let me just share a weird connection that I think is a connection. I could be wrong, but I think it is. So I was thinking about the movie Hail Mary, and Hail Mary is a new movie with Ryan Gosling, and it's about dimming the sun. Okay. Now, Bill Gates has been out there talking about dimming the sun. Okay. And I think we all kind of understand some of the ramifications of that would not be good for us. Okay. When you're messing and trying to play God and you're messing with that, it's not going to be good. And then it was weird because I was thinking about the cloud. You had just mentioned the cloud. And I was thinking about the cloud earlier this morning. And this was so strange, but I've said on the show that they have these certain words they use, right? And one of the words was windows, and naming windows as a window into everyone's home, into everyone's life. Okay. And that Windows was named for Windows, and Kindle was actually named for kindling, like a book burning, because once you get books onto electronic only, and you kind of get rid of the written word, right, it's easier to manipulate. So kindling was kind of a nod, and actually Bezos did give this a nod publicly, describing this in the very beginning as kindling, as like almost like a book burning, okay, for the new technology, okay. So then I was thinking about the cloud, and I was thinking, here we are with these movies that sort of predict, right, give us the future, and always want to take the story and curtail it to a different direction. And then I was thinking about clouds, and it's interesting that they named it the cloud, because what they try to tell you if you ask about the cloud is they try to go, oh, when you're just drawing a circle and that circle is just so anonymous and nothingness, and you're trying to describe the internet to somebody in the 80s, but you can't, because you can't describe how it works, so it's just in the air. Well, it's just like a cloud. Like, it's natural, it's temporary, it's harmless. It belongs to everyone, and it's so wonderful, this cloud. So when they're saying, our stuff's in the cloud, what they should be saying, obviously, and you just talked about this, is it's sitting in a data center in a concrete building over there, and you should know that your data is sitting there, and it's all about you, and it just keeps gathering stuff on you. Okay, so kind of interesting that when I was kind of thinking about how they name things and what they do, and does this have something for the future, and it was really like, as they're trying to call it out as so distant and harmless, and we just came up with this, I do kind of find it interesting that if you understand Project Bluebeam, and I don't think it's a theory, that in the future, clouds are reflective, right? And if you shoot enough crap into those clouds and you're beyond seeding, you're doing a lot of chemical warfare. Isn't it interesting that the clouds would actually make it so that you could reflect those holograms and those types of things? It wouldn't be totally, but it would be helpful. Okay. And I just kind of started thinking about all their word choices. It's like your data, their servers, your sky, their aerosols, and then how they have aims in the future agendas to manipulate those things. And I don't think it was any mistake or any kind of frivolous thing that they called it the cloud. I think all things have an end game in the New World Order. As we started out with that clip, I think all things sort of tie in together. And, they were never going to say, surveillance infrastructure, because that would freak you out. So they just go, it's in the cloud. Like, it's just up there like a little angel. And I just had to kind of just make that connection a little bit, because I just thought it was it's weird. It's a weird word choice. All of their choices for these kinds of things are very strange. And I think the timing of having a blockbuster movie talking about dimming the sun is no accident either. It's just some things I've been thinking about, as trying to look at patterns that they use, word choice that they use, things that they do, and sort of figure out more about it, because clouds obscure what's underneath them.
Well, my son and I have had an ongoing conversation, speaking of clouds, about the connection between seeing the trails in the sky and then seeing unnatural clouds after that. And my son was the one that pointed out, he goes, clouds don't look the same as they used to look. Because you can tell on certain days the clouds are Like their clouds
Mhm.
are clouds.
Yeah.
And on other days, clouds are not clouds. You can tell they're something else.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, they kind of don't move across the sky the same.
Mm-hmm.
So I want you to think about that relative to our data. When we're shooting all this information into the cloud, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
eventually the environment that we live in is going to be very artificial. And so a lot of people with privacy concerns, and I've even said this myself, well, I don't have anything to hide.
Mm-hmm.
And I would tack on the back of that right now.
Yeah.
But I don't have anything to hide. What do I care?
Right.
You know, it just doesn't matter to me. But does it matter? And I think this is a different way of thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
When they have enough data about you, they can actually change the environment around you
Mm-hmm.
so that wherever you go, you
Yeah.
are surrounded by the data, only the data they want you to see.
Yes.
Only the data they want you to know about or consume or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not about whether you're
Mhm.
hiding anything from the
Mhm.
government. That's a really kind of 19th century way to think about it.
Sure.
But to think about what is actually
Mhm.
going on, they actually eventually may have the power
Mm-hmm.
to rearrange your
Yeah.
environment, everything that you see and touch and know about,
Mm-hmm.
according to what the data they know about you
Mhm.
says about you.
Yes. Yes.
That's really creepy.
And the
That's
AI is stored on those clouds, those data servers, okay, that do
Right.
not need to occupy every city of every state. They can actually, they're doing it now without that, but they want to increase that tenfold. So they want to kind of trick us into thinking that we have to have enough centers to place all this info. But it's so interesting. It's like smart technology, smart cities, smart meters, smart grids. SMART. SMART is the acronym for surveillance, monitoring, analysis, reporting, and tracking.
Ugh, that's ugly.
Smart cities, smart meters, smart grids. I'll say it again. SMART. SMART. Surveillance, monitoring, analysis, reporting, and tracking. They always have told you what's in the name. And I find that kind of interesting. It's almost like digital twin, right? And then I
Right.
know this is going to sound crazy. It's okay if it sounds crazy because it's just bizarre. But how many people look like twins in Hollywood? Very, very weird. Very weird. There are more sets of twins in Hollywood that look exactly alike than anywhere else on earth. Just had to throw that out there for those of you that want deeper rabbit holes. But very interesting, all the stuff that they're using. So the smart thing is crazy. The fact that they called it the cloud, I just think we have so much moving in that direction of sort of hidden things that are coming out. But if you're awake, you probably can see how they're going to utilize these things. I just don't think there's any accidents. I don't think they just go, let me just name that because a cloud's puffy and white. No, I think it's far bigger than that. I do.
Well, think about right now, if you have a Spotify account,
Mm-hmm.
does your Spotify account suggest, does it suggest music you might want to listen to that matches your mood already?
Mm-hmm.
How does it know what your mood is?
Right.
Does it suggest other, and we've seen it on like Netflix when they make suggestions to you,
Mm-hmm.
like here's a movie you might like. Here's the next 10 movies that you
Right.
might like. And then they ask you, do you agree?
Mm-hmm.
So it's learning your preferences. You are providing the data for them. And so on one hand, we can all just say, oh, I like the convenience of that. I like not having to sift through 3,000 really bad movies on Netflix to find one I might like.
Mm.
We like the convenience of it, but, and is that super private?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Privacy, what does privacy, we're going to have this conversation. What is it to be private? Because I'm telling you right now that you do not own the digital version of you right now.
Mm-hmm.
The data collection people, they are the ones that own your digital twin that lives in the data center.
Fascination
right
with
now.
twins. Why do they need a digital twin?
Well, because the digital twin, it's us, it's me.
Mm-hmm.
There is a
Yeah.
version of me that lives in an algorithm somewhere
Mhm.
that is making those predictions for me.
That means a
I-
version of you could be weaponized.
Well, let's say this too. Let's talk about what happens when the
Mhm.
data that it's gathered isn't exactly correct.
Mhm.
What happens when it analyzes? I go in to get a mortgage for a home loan, for example,
Yeah.
and they say, "Oh, she's female," and we
Mhm.
can see all of her buying habits.
Mhm.
She's not really good at making those decisions, and it will be based on an algorithm. There's no desk jockey sitting there going, "Oh, look at her, she
Right.
doesn't qualify."
Right.
But they're going to have all these data points that are
Mhm.
predictive about whether I would be a good risk or not, or how much interest I can pay,
Mhm.
or whether I have a good enough job to pay for it.
Mhm.
That is what happens when I go to the grocery store and I put a piece of something in my cart and it says, "Well, the price for you, honey, should be $10 for that pound of hamburger
Yeah.
because we know you have the money to pay for it."
And I want it to say it like that in a Karen voice.
We know you have the money, honey. But we've heard
Yeah.
that. That's
Yeah.
been rumored around.
Right. Right.
Flexible pricing
I
in
know.
grocery stores.
I don't think we can even fathom like what's really ahead. And I'm not here for doom and gloom today, but I'm telling you that there's just so many things that we're building right now. Melania was pictured with walking in with a robot today, a humanoid robot thing. And it's just amazing that we're not suspicious of any of it. We're just rolling with it like it's no big deal. And it's just the new latest iPhone or new latest tech. On the cloud thing, I just kind of wanted to one more time kind of say to you that, the research that's gone on and what they've found in the sky, because we were talking about cloud, the cloud, barium, which is highly reflective, and aluminum, which is light scattering, image diffusion, and strontium, which is plasma reactivity and color rendering, are things that they have found that have been shot out there and in large volume and would make the situation pretty it just would make it better if you wanted to maybe present something in the sky that wasn't real. So just to go there, because why not? Because these things have been studied, but I just wanted to throw that out there too. It's kind of creepy, really creepy actually. But anyway, what do you say to all that? It's like,
yeah,
there's no accidents.
I don't want this to be doom either.
Yeah,
and
I know you
I'm
don't.
pretty sure that no matter what, these things are happening.
Yeah.
There's not a lot we can do there are a few things that we can do. We can actually starve the system of data about us.
Yes.
We can be more purposeful about what we're scrolling, what we're looking at.
Let me take some of these comments real quick. So let's see here. Okay, so they cross hatch the spring. It makes a blanket. Certain parts of the country, thanks, Albie. Certain parts of the country have slower jet streams as well. The SAI blanket moves slower. And if you can look at a global map of IP addresses that hit your site, tell us if you find one in every capital of every state. Twins and triplets, great fascination from the Nazi doctors. Yeah, I know. And I think there's huge rabbit holes with Hollywood and that time period, by the way, what they were doing and what they did with Hollywood after World War II. So just, it can be used to frame you for a crime. It can. So they were just commenting on what you were talking about earlier.
Or predictive crime.
Yeah.
They know that people in your situation are likely to commit a crime.
Sure.
That's Minority Report.
Yeah. I just think
Predictive
we need
policing.
I think as a populace, myself included, it's hard to fathom how much stuff has been already planned and given given words, and we're slow to take that connection. Like we're slow to kind of see it all, almost like Windows. Why was it named Windows? There was no reason to call it a window. Unless you're talking about a computer window, but we've named it that since it was named that. So, I mean, we call it that. So, I mean, it's strange, right? You're going to call it a window. Okay, I could see a little bit, but a window into every home makes a lot of sense because they knew exactly what they were doing. It's almost like you'd have to be Satan to kind of understand how this whole thing progresses. I mean,
What?
I'm just going to mention it. Like you just would almost have to be Satan to know what's going to play out. So kind of crazy anyway.
Well, let's kind of
Okay.
shift the conversation
Sure.
again
Sure.
into some things that and these are some things I just attended a seminar and they were talking about this and I found it to be fascinating and I had never even considered it.
Mm-hmm.
So let's think about what our digital legacy is and what it might be.
Okay.
And we know that they have this information. We know it doesn't necessarily belong to us,
Mm-hmm.
but how will you feel about the creation of, for example, an avatar of you after you're dead?
Weird.
Yeah. Would you want
No.
an avatar to interact with your grandchildren, read them stories in your voice with your face on a screen?
An avatar of me. Oh, how weird. They probably could do it though, for sure.
Well, that's coming very soon.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's coming very soon.
Oh, that's creepy.
Anyway, we need to,
Mhm.
and this at the seminar, the presenter was talking about becoming
Mhm.
intentional about our digital footprint
Mhm.
and the legacy that we leave behind. We all know that we have a lot of different kinds of data that
Mhm.
is going to be out there. Some of us have done DNA tests.
Mhm.
Some of us have,
Yeah.
we have multiple social media accounts.
Mhm.
We have our YouTube and our Netflix. We
Yeah.
have our, we have X stuff that we do. We have Facebook, there's Spotify, and all of that can be assembled to
Mhm.
form a very reasonable facsimile of you in the future.
Right. Yeah.
For even out, you are long gone. And if you haven't seen these kinds of things, there's a lot of the like genealogy platforms right now that can
Mhm.
animate photographs from like
Mhm.
well, you can animate just about anything you want with AI
Right.
now.
Mhm.
I mean, go on YouTube and look up the people. They're kind of interesting. They take old busts of like Julius Caesar and they say, what would he look like if he lived now? And they can make it into a face that actually looks like a person and smiles and
Mhm.
looks around.
Yeah.
And they're kind of creepy.
Mhm. Yeah.
But as AI gets more and more robust and more powerful,
Right.
they will be able to do that. Our voices are out there,
Mhm.
all of our preferences. So
Right.
the person that was talking about this was advising all of us to think now, how much of yourself and what of yourself do you want to live on after you're gone?
It's a good question. I mean, we don't really write in journals. When we have Facebook posts, we have like social
Right.
media, but we don't really write in journals anymore. And so that's one of the
Nor do we
only-
write letters. So when
Yeah.
we send an email.
Yeah.
So if you have an email account,
Mhm.
are you archiving any of that information? And there are
Well,
there are
I
a
know
lot
Big Brother is. Maybe we can ask them.
well, right. They are.
But
They're
I don't think we
archiving
are.
it.
I don't think we are. I mean, personally.
Well, I think that the day may come
Yeah.
when, I do some, because I'm a history wonk,
Yeah.
I do family history research. And I'm used to looking at a birth record or a death record or an
Mhm.
obituary, and we find little tidbits of people's lives here and there. But think about how much there's going to be about us
Yeah.
left behind in our digital world.
True.
And what will people in the future be able to reconstruct of us? And are we comfortable with that?
It's a good question. That is a really good question. Like, what are they going to utilize on us and make us into in the future for loved ones, for our posterity. It's kind of scary because of what they can do. You know, people that were born in the, like, say 1900s, maybe died in the 80s or 90s, didn't have to worry about that really, unless you found their journal. But in our day, what they can produce is really frightening. I don't think people have even given a second thought. I think it's a really good question, Melissa.
Well, it's a real, when I heard this person speaking about this, I was like, oh my gosh, who even is thinking about that? And she was advocating that right now we are at a time period right now where we can make some decisions about what happens to some of the data for our families. For example, if I've done a DNA test, who do I want? So the company that does the DNA test, whether it's 23andMe or Ancestry or whoever it is that did that test, they keep that record of that, right? So what do we want? Do we want our children, our grandchildren to be able to have access to that someday? If you do, can you structure access now, maybe in your will? Say, okay, these people can have access. Or you leave behind documentary evidence for how to access that file. I just invested myself personally in a photographic system where I'm going to pull my pictures out of Google and put them into on a platform that I will own through a contract between me and the company that they do not share on the cloud. They maintain their own servers. So, and I can will to my children the access to my account.
Interesting.
They sent me a document that she said, fill this out, then put it with your important papers for when you die. And then your children can get access to your account. I'm giving them permission. Now, the kind of cool thing about the system is my children don't have permission to change anything that I've saved. They can just see it and use it.
Right.
You know, they can print out pictures or whatever. But that's a level of thinking ahead. Like, how do we transfer stuff? We are taking millions and millions of pictures, many of which don't need to be saved.
Right.
So let's not save them anymore.
Yeah.
Let's look at what we have and save the good stuff and get rid of the stuff that will just be used for no good purpose.
Yeah. One piece of advice to everybody is don't get rid of old books.
No.
Don't.
You've never been to my house, Kate.
I have so
my
many
children
books.
say, are you trying to start the public library in the basement?
Right? I feel like that sometimes too. I get sent a lot of books so from authors. So just don't throw them away. I know a lot of people choose to go, well, we don't need them anymore, to go digital, but please don't. When I talked about Kindling and the book burning, it's a real thing. They can manipulate books when they're digital. So please don't do that. Keep those older books. You know, I was going through some of my father's books and he's got some gems. And I was like, ooh, you know, this is kind of, I mean, it's fun to be able to see some of these things that have been out of print for so long. And that's how the President Makers book was written. When Don Fotheringham wrote that book, the President Makers was written by spending 3 years in people's attics going through the books that are no longer available, even in the library. So when he was out and about trying to save our Constitution in the 90s from the states going to a convention, you know, he was accused of saying something and he backed it up with one of these books because this guy in government was trying to contradict him and said, no, that doesn't exist. And he's like, oh, yes, it does. And he showed the book. So I just think that please don't throw anything out like that, like books, older books that have meaning in them, not Harlequins, please. You can ditch
please
those.
throw those away.
No one likes a Harlequin.
Quickly.
Get a real love life. But yeah, I was thinking, man, if you've got some old books, please don't do anything with them.
Here are some interesting things that this presenter was talking about relative to all of this. And this is where we're talking about very personal, private stuff.
Right.
This isn't just like Pokemon Go. This is your life. Well, how are you going to handle the data about your life? So here were some of the questions that she asked. And I think some of these are really, really good. is it comforting or unsettling for future generations to interact with a simulation of you?
Say that again.
Is it comforting or is it unsettling for people in the future in your family to interact with a simulation of you?
That's
and
weird.
the question that goes with that is, will that simulation of you really reflect who you are, or is it some other kind of construct?
Yeah.
Will it really be the essence of you?
Right.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah. Will they get it right? Probably not.
So it's important for us in some way.
Right.
For example, no algorithm, no data points can ever understand what it meant to me as a first-time mother to hold my baby in my arms for the first time.
Yeah.
That is an emotional thing. No algorithm can know that.
Right.
Can know those feelings and know what that is. No algorithm knows what it's like to reflect upon your life and course correct to be a better person or to make different decisions in the future.
Right.
It only knows what you have done in the past to predict what you will do next. So we need to be aware and recording some of that.
Yeah.
And some of that, record it in a journal, write it down, make a book, do something with that information so that there is a record that is of you, the essence of you, which is beyond the grasp of any kind of AI data storage.
Okay.
Okay, so some other things to think about here is, and this is kind of a societal thing, when we get to the place where these AI virtual people can live, is it going to be accurate with respect to people of all stations of life? Or will it just be people who have the money to do so?
I don't know.
It will be a skewed version of history will remain that will not really talk about the struggles or the hard times or the whatever, because it will only be people who had it good enough that they could afford to do some of these things.
Right.
That's a social thing. And then the last question, the last big question here is, we're talking about a kind of digital immortality. And so you need to think about what your spiritual beliefs are about that. Do you think that that's a good kind of immortality to claim or not? And that's, I can't answer that for anybody. I mean, I'm still thinking about it myself, because as cool as it would be for me to see an animation of maybe a great grandparent, do I really want that? Do I really, what does that do to my relationship to a person that I've never met and whom I don't know that this is an accurate representation of them?
It reminds me of the book versus movie. You like the book because you imagined everything and that's what you like about it. And then they turn into the movie and you go, oh, because they're handing you your imagination and you're like, yeah, I don't know if I like these characters as much, or I didn't see it that way. And it just kind of feels weird. The book's always better. In other words,
Well, that is a true statement. The book is always better, but
it totally is. I agree with you. I do. Oh my God.
Well, anyway, those are some pretty, there's ethical issues at stake here too. The ethics of transgressing on someone else's life and can make some of the photographic animation programs right now, you can make it say anything.
This is kind of interesting.
You can make your ancestor from, 1867 say, I just loved Richard Nixon and I wanted to vote for him again and again. You can make it say anything.
You can change it like they change history today. They could change you like they change history. I mean, don't think they wouldn't apply it to you, what they do to history, right?
Understand what we're talking about is we have talked about today. They can change your environment and push you in certain directions by controlling the data you have available to you. And now they can go back in history and change what we know about them through pushing certain ideas. You know, we don't know. We don't know what those people in the past were like. And I think sometimes it's good to let them be people of the past. Let them be who they were.
LB says, like this, you know, they'll say if you didn't have the wealth to become an AI person, then the world didn't need to learn anything from you in the first place. Yeah, I could see them doing that. I could see that. I can. Yeah.
So who will we have stories about? Bezos, Gates, all those guys, but the rest of the sheeple, all of us out here, we will be nothing.
Right.
And that may be how it goes. And maybe that would be a good thing.
Well, they always like to paint their victors. So after the research I did, I can't come to any other conclusion than Bezos, Musk, they're all on the payroll, that they are not geniuses, that they were literally given the work that they're doing. And what the government wanted to make it look separated, like they were can't think today, I'm tired, but they were like a private company, but they're not. And so all of them got their weird start. And I've done a show on that where I showcased Bezos, Musk, Facebook guy, Zuckerberg, Steve Jobs, and Gates, where I said these are frontmen. They are not who you think they are. And they like to paint their victors, and they like to take people and discredit them and say things and do things to make them look a certain way, just like they change history. So I don't think the AI representation or digital twinner or triplet will be something that could ever be trusted.
Well,
so
we're actually talking about deep fakes.
Yeah.
And do you want a deep fake of you to be out there saying who knows what?
Yeah.
And how do you stop that? How do you stop the deep fake from being, and I guess there are legal ways you can prohibit the use of your images or your, like I said, I'm going to try and migrate my photographs out of Google's and out of Facebook so that I have control of them.
But do you think it still will be in your control though? I think anything on those servers gets tossed around. I don't know. I don't know if there's a safe place to put that.
Well, do you know what? We can only do the best we can do given the information we have in the moment. Just like I don't hold it against anybody that played Pokemon Go.
Yeah.
Because we didn't know. Nobody knew. That's part of the game as well.
But why would you want to play that stupid game?
Well, that's a whole other conversation.
You should be accused of wanting to play a stupid game.
I don't hold it against people that did that. Or people, we're all doing the best we can right now, given highly, highly difficult situations. But the deep fake stuff, we already don't know what is true in the world. Yeah. So that's what I'm trying to say. Leave something that is truthful about yourself behind for your family, for your children, for your grandchildren. Leave a truthful something.
Yeah.
And don't allow the deep fake to transcend.
Yeah.
It's going to be crazy.
Yeah.
They're coming at us from both sides. We can't know what's coming in on one side and what's going out on the other.
Well, I think the backsides. I think the backside's getting its fair share of all of us. I think that I don't know. I just think we are allowing and even cheering our own cage, and I think it's so sad. When it's funny. I don't have anything against Melania. I've always actually talked nice about Melania because, on our conservative side, they were hell bent on, obviously the media was going to, make her some kind of joke. And I actually thought she is who she is. And she, was classy, a lot classier than Jill or Michael. And so I watched her movie and it was kind of icy cold and I was like, ooh, ouch. But when she came out with that robot, and I'm thinking, Trump has been nothing but AI, and Larry Ellison. And of course, all of that's going forward while all eyeballs are on Iran, and the fake shortages that are going to happen. They're going to happen. They are going to happen. I think that they're just going to blame it on Iran. But I just, we see all of this taking place and no one's stopping it. They're encouraging it. They are celebrating it. They're happy about it. And they want all of us to come along because that's what the deep state wants. They want all of us to do that. And so no administration is real. They take their orders, and this is no different. And so they are going to take their orders to celebrate this monstrosity coming and this weirdness coming down the line. And people might think that this little robot humanoid is so fascinating, and I don't, for where it's leading. Because we already have a problem with connection as humans right now. There's already
This is
problems.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
This is exactly what I'm saying. Leave a piece of you behind.
Yeah, I like that.
That is not AI.
Manipulated by them. Mhm.
Right.
Yeah. I like that.
I have my dad, as he got very elderly, he started sitting down every afternoon and he'd just write a little story about something he remembered.
Mm-hmm.
So, and some of them they're goofy, some of them are hilarious, some of them are more serious. But I have a book. It's a very thick book of just his little random memories. And that's my dad. That's when I read those stories, I can hear his voice and I can see him in them.
Yeah.
That's what we need to leave behind.
Yeah.
Something that's real and tangible in our voice with our emotion, not a digital twin that was created by an algorithm that could predict what kind of dog food I wanted to buy
and input
but didn't
its own
really
stuff.
know me.
I agree. And I think the written word, the diaries, I've read diaries from pioneers and going all the way back, centuries. And it's amazing to be able to read their voice, because you can pick up on their voice. You know what they care about, what they write,
Right.
what they write about. And I think that's honestly one of the only ways to do it is through voice, through writing. And writing is a lost art. Our kids don't know how to write. They don't write. They type with two thumbs, but they don't actually
you know
write.
What? It's okay. Go ahead and use your word processor, type and print it out. It's still in your voice.
Still in your voice.
It's still you.
Yeah, I agree.
There's a variety of ways to do it. But I just think that it's really important that, and we don't really know where AI is headed.
Right.
The document that we leave behind that is a reflection of who we really are is going to be important in the next generation, because all that's likely to be left is that AI digital mirror and the predictive algorithm. They would be able, like I said, they'll be able to predict what music we would want to listen to, but they will never know what it was like to be a parent. They will never know what it was like to suffer or to grieve or to celebrate even.
Yeah.
What is it like? What is our experience? So that's my history minute for the moment. We're not leaving those kinds of documents behind. They're going to know an awful lot about us, but they will not know us.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. I like it. The meek shall inherit the earth. Yes, thank you for that comment. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's something to think about. I'm glad you brought that up today. And honestly, thinking about their terminology and the way that they name things and do things, and I just think we should pay way more attention to it and get to the conclusions of when things don't seem right, when it doesn't click. It's like it just seems off. So I think always pay attention to that gut. I call it a God thing, but you can call it gut, whatever. We don't pay enough attention to it, and we should.
Yep.
I think it's really the only way you can know truth. Honestly, it's the only way to do it. But I so appreciate you bringing this up today. And like I said, Ron Paul interview, I already did it this morning, so that's tomorrow's show. So you can go and watch that on YouTube. And I asked him a lot of questions, and his answers were kind of interesting too. So yeah, you need to check that out. I think it was like 35, 40 minutes. So check that out. Anything else, Melissa, Midwest Melissa?
Oh, I think that's it. I got to go write my journal now.
I feel compelled. Yes, thank you. I really appreciate you, and really appreciate you for listening in today. And like I said, that there's the movie Hail Mary. Actually, it's getting good ratings, but I was just laughing that it was about whatchamacallit, the dimming of the sun, of all topics to come at us with. And I just could not believe that they were using you always look to the movies for things that they want to tell us, right? I'm really abusing the English language today. I'm sorry, I'm tired, but they really tell us or like to kind of take the topic and move it in a different direction. So I'm always paying attention to what's in the movies. What are they selling us now? So, I shouldn't, but I am. I'm always interested. And I really thank you for listening. If you want to support this show, it desperately needs you. So the sponsors are amazing. I do use all those products. And the teeth whitening, it's remineralization. So you're getting 2 for 1. That's on my website, katedalleyradio.com. Get the ebooks. The one on cancer is amazing. This is what to do and how to do it, and cut through all the BS and know exactly what you should do. And coming from the very best doctors who have dialed it in pretty good and who are saving lives all over the world, you can go to katetalks.myshopify.com and go grab it. And I thank you. I do. I also want you to try Cardio Miracle because it's so good. It is that good. And I finished mine. Otherwise, I'd show you because I was here way earlier today. But Cardio Miracle, 2 doses a day. It'll change your life. I promise. It'll change you. It will change your nutrition level. And when you have that level of nutrition, you can't even imagine how much better you feel. So thanks, you guys. All right. I'll see you later. And I'll see you next week, just next Tuesday with Dr. Pesta, because tomorrow's show is already up. So you can go grab it on SoundCloud and listen to it, or you can grab it on YouTube, X, Instagram, everywhere. Thanks, you guys. Be faithful, be fearless. Find out why I say that at katedalleyradio.com.